You'll notice it when you start walking differently, not with arrogance, but with a calm assurance that you no longer need validation. When your silence speaks louder than another man's shouting, something shifts in the air. It's subtle, but real. And the world, especially the darker corners of it, begins to notice. Evil people, the manipulators, the ones who thrive on confusion and weakness, have a hard time accepting a man who cannot be swayed by their tricks. They can't read him. They can't guilt-trap him. They can't figure out why he doesn't need a crowd to feel complete. And so they start to act differently around him. They test him, they provoke him, they study him like a puzzle they can't solve. It's not because you did anything wrong, it's because your presence reminds them of everything they lack. In psychology, this is called projection, when people cast their own insecurities and frustrations onto others. But for a Sigma male, it's deeper than that. You become a mirror they can't bear to look into. As you evolve into your higher masculine state, calm, logical, and emotionally grounded, you'll see these subtle tactics appear more often, sometimes through sarcasm, sometimes through silence, sometimes through false kindness. But the key to staying centered is awareness. When you know what's happening, their games lose power. Today we'll explore 6 quiet, manipulative things evil people do when they realize they're dealing with a Sigma. A man beyond manipulation, beyond social hierarchy, and beyond their control. Take this not as a warning, but as education, because wisdom, not aggression, is what keeps the Sigma untouchable. Number 1, they test your boundaries. Evil people dislike limits because limits expose their lack of respect. In psychology, this behavior often stems from narcissistic or manipulative tendencies where boundaries feel like a threat to their control. Such individuals thrive on testing others, slowly encroaching on emotional, verbal, or even physical space to see who will yield first. They operate through subtle invasions, interrupting when you speak, dismissing your opinions, mocking your values, or probing into your private life without permission. What they seek isn't connection, it's dominance. Each time you fail to reinforce your boundary, they interpret it as permission to push further. This is why boundaries aren't just emotional walls. They are psychological mirrors that reflect who respects you and who doesn't. The Sigma male, however, handles this differently. He doesn't meet disrespect with rage or confrontation. Instead, he responds with calm detachment. This reaction baffles those who feed on emotional chaos. When someone expects anger and instead meets silence, it disarms their power play. From a behavioral psychology standpoint, this is known as extinction, the gradual weakening of a behavior when it's not reinforced. By not reacting to provocation, the Sigma essentially trains the manipulator that their tactics yield no reward. This self-control, rooted in emotional intelligence, signals inner stability and self-respect. It communicates a message far louder than shouting ever could, that your peace is not for sale. This quiet firmness teaches an essential truth. Respect isn't maintained through dominance or aggression, but through consistency and composure. When you uphold your boundaries without explaining, defending, or apologizing, you convey strength on a deeper subconscious level. Studies in interpersonal dynamics show that people instinctively respect those who demonstrate self-assured restraint. They may not like it, but they recognize it. And for toxic personalities, that recognition feels like defeat. In a world where many equate loudness with authority, the Sigma's quiet response becomes a form of psychological judo. It uses stillness to redirect energy, allowing the aggressor's own behavior to expose their weakness. Over time, such individuals tend to retreat, seeking easier targets, those who react, argue, or crumble. The Sigma simply remains unmoved, rooted in self-awareness and discipline. He knows that maintaining peace doesn't mean avoiding conflict. It means refusing to participate in games that violate his values. In this way, his calm detachment doesn't just protect his energy, it teaches a silent lesson that true power lies not in control over others, but in mastery over oneself. Number 2, they try to undermine your confidence. Through jokes disguised as fun or faint praise that cuts deeper than insult, they'll attempt to shrink your self-worth. It's a subtle art of manipulation known as negging, a psychological tactic where people use backhanded compliments or sarcastic humor to make you question yourself. It's common in workplaces, relationships, and social circles, especially when someone feels threatened by another's quiet confidence. The Sigma male, however, stands apart from this game. He doesn't depend on validation to define his value. His strength is internal, not performative, while others crave applause or reassurance. The Sigma operates from self-knowledge, a steady sense of who he is and what he stands for. Psychologists describe this as internal locus of control, the belief that one's life outcomes depend on their own actions rather than the opinions or behaviors of others. This mindset shields him from emotional manipulation because he's not seeking approval in the first place. What's fascinating is how people react to that kind of independence. When someone can't be flattered into submission or offended into insecurity, it unsettles manipulators. Their jokes fall flat. Their attempts at control lose power. In social dynamics, this creates cognitive dissonance, a discomfort that arises when someone realizes that tactics no longer work. To regain control, they may try harder, pushing with mockery, sarcasm, or subtle jabs at your confidence. But the Sigma remains calm. He doesn't defend himself with anger, nor does he stoop to compete. He simply observes, knowing that silence is often the most powerful response, that composure is unnerving because it reveals who truly holds emotional control in the exchange. Over time, the Sigma's resistance teaches a deeper truth, that self-worth is not earned through others' laughter, likes, or applause. It's cultivated through discipline, competence, and purpose. Studies in behavioral psychology show that people with strong self-concepts are less influenced by social pressure and external rewards. They perform better, think clearer, and recover faster from rejection. This is why the Sigma's confidence feels so solid. It's rooted in consistent self-mastery, not momentary validation. He understands that external approval is fickle. It changes with trends, moods, and insecurities. But inner strength, built through solitude and reflection, is permanent. So, when others use humor as a weapon, the Sigma smiles, not because he's unaffected, but because he's free. His peace isn't something they can take, it's something they never gave. Number 3, they spread subtle doubt about you. Evil individuals often attempt social sabotage, whispering doubts into others' ears, weaving subtle lies that cloud your reputation. It's a tactic as old as human nature itself, rooted in envy and insecurity. They know that direct confrontation rarely works against a man of quiet confidence, so they resort to deception. The Sigma, however, is not easily shaken by this kind of warfare. He understands something fundamental about human psychology. People's perceptions are fleeting, but truth is enduring. Throughout history, men of integrity have been misunderstood, misrepresented, and even vilified, only for time to reveal their worth. This is why the Sigma never rushes to defend himself. He knows that reacting to gossip only gives it weight. Instead, he practices the timeless wisdom of the Stoics, remaining grounded in virtue and unbothered by noise. As the philosopher Heraclitus once said, character is fate. It means that no amount of rumor or manipulation can rewrite the story of a man whose actions consistently reflect his principles. In modern psychology, this approach mirrors what experts call emotional regulation and detached awareness. By refusing to engage in drama, the Sigma starves the saboteur of what they crave most: attention and validation. Studies in social dynamics show that gossip loses its power when the target doesn't respond with outrage. Silence, in this case, becomes a weapon of dignity. The Sigma understands that a reputation built on truth doesn't need to be defended. It merely needs to be lived. Over time, people begin to notice who speaks with integrity and who thrives on deceit. The fog of slander eventually clears, revealing the steady figure who never faltered. In professional settings, this mindset proves invaluable. When false narratives circulate, the Sigma's consistency and composure create a psychological contrast. The gossiper appears anxious and unstable, while the Sigma remains poised and focused on his purpose. This quiet resilience not only preserves his peace, but also amplifies his authority. His calm presence communicates self-trust, a trait deeply admired yet rarely mastered. He becomes a living embodiment of the Stoic ideal, indifferent to what he cannot control and fully devoted to what he can, his own conduct. In the end, social sabotage collapses under its own weight because lies cannot outrun time. The Sigma knows this. And that's why he never chases rumors. He simply continues walking his path, trusting that truth, like light, always finds its way through the cracks of darkness. Number 4, they mimic you. Strangely, those who envy your composure may start imitating your behavior, your speech, your calm tone, and even your clothing. It's not admiration, it's imitation born from insecurity. This phenomenon has roots in psychology, particularly in what's called mimicry as social learning. When individuals feel threatened or inferior, they unconsciously copy the traits of those they perceive as powerful or in control. It's an ancient survival mechanism wired into the human brain, the same instinct that helped early humans blend into stronger tribes for safety and social acceptance. But while mimicry can be a form of flattery, it's also a mask for deep insecurity. Those who mimic a Sigma male often do so not because they understand his calm, but because they crave the respect it commands. They confuse the appearance of strength with its essence. A true Sigma's composure comes from something that cannot be faked: self-mastery. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows himself, who's faced his own fears and found peace in solitude. That kind of strength doesn't come from wearing the same jacket or using the same deep tone of voice. It's a product of emotional regulation, discipline, and awareness, traits rooted in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and impulse control. Research in behavioral psychology shows that people who maintain calm under pressure often have higher emotional intelligence, EQ. They respond to chaos not with reactivity, but with reflection. That's the Sigma difference. His calm is earned, not performed. Meanwhile, the imitator's behavior often betrays their true state. Their version of calm feels rehearsed. Their words lack conviction. Their silence feels heavy with tension, not peace. Eventually, people notice the cracks because authenticity carries a natural resonance that imitation can't reproduce. Over time, the Sigma's genuine presence continues to draw quiet respect, while the imitator's facade fades into frustration. This dynamic reveals an important truth. You can copy someone's style, but not their spirit. Authenticity isn't about acting strong. It's about being strong when no one's watching. That's why a Sigma never competes to prove himself. He simply lives his truth. And while imitators may come and go trying to borrow his energy, the Sigma stands unmoved, knowing that imitation will always expose the imitator, not the original. In a world obsessed with appearances, the rare man who remains real will always stand apart, silently powerful, effortlessly himself. Number 5, they create chaos to pull you in. When people can't control you, they often try to provoke emotional chaos instead. It's a psychological defense mechanism known as projective identification. When someone feels powerless, they attempt to regain control by pulling you into their emotional storm. They might criticize you, twist your words, or create tension just to see you react. But the Sigma male doesn't fall for it. His calm isn't a mask, it's a discipline. He understands that reacting gives away power, while silence preserves it. Neuroscience supports this approach. Studies show that emotional regulation activates the prefrontal cortex, the brain's center of rational thought, allowing a person to respond intelligently rather than impulsively. By mastering stillness, the Sigma male keeps his nervous system balanced even in chaos. In social psychology, emotional manipulation thrives on attention. When you respond to drama, you feed it. But the Sigma observes quietly, noting behavioral patterns like a scientist studying human nature. He recognizes triggers, manipulative tactics, and the insecurities behind them. This observational distance gives him an edge. It's the same concept that ancient Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius practiced, remaining unmoved by external noise, focusing only on what's within your control. The Sigma's silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's a shield that turns every emotional attack into wasted energy. When toxic people realize their words have no effect, they feel defeated, not because you argued better, but because you refused to argue at all. This ability to stay calm under pressure is what makes the Sigma's presence powerful and unsettling. His silence forces others to confront their own instability. Psychologists call this mirror effect. When people can't read your emotions, they project their own, becoming frustrated or anxious. The Sigma, meanwhile, remains a mirror of stillness, reflecting nothing but composure. In that quiet space, he reclaims control of the moment. Where others seek validation, he seeks understanding. Where others fight to be right, he chooses to remain grounded in truth. And that unnerves manipulators more than anything, because control over one's emotions is the highest form of strength. The Sigma doesn't drown in other people's noise. He listens, learns, and waits. His silence is not absence, it's awareness. And in a world addicted to reaction, that awareness is power. Number 6, they try to isolate you, then fail. Evil people often underestimate the power of solitude. When they realize they can't manipulate or control a Sigma male directly, they attempt a subtler form of sabotage, isolating him. They might spread rumors, distort perceptions, or quietly turn others against him, hoping to strip him of his social support and sense of belonging. But what they fail to grasp is that a Sigma doesn't depend on external validation or companionship to define his worth. He walks alone, not because the world has pushed him away, but because he consciously chooses clarity over chaos. Isolation to him is not punishment, but purification. Modern psychology supports this notion. Studies on solitude reveal that intentional isolation can enhance creativity, emotional regulation, and self-awareness. Unlike loneliness, which stems from the absence of connection, solitude is the deliberate act of reconnecting with one's inner world. In this space, the Sigma sharpens his intuition, reflects on his purpose, and rebuilds his strength away from noise and manipulation. History and literature alike are filled with examples of individuals who thrived in solitude. Think of philosophers like Nietzsche, mystics like Rumi, and inventors like Tesla. They all understood that silence is not emptiness. It's fertile ground for growth. The Sigma male mirrors this pattern. When cut off from others, he doesn't spiral, he ascends. He learns to detach emotionally, think independently, and refine his vision with unwavering focus. What evil people perceive as isolation is, in truth, his sanctuary for transformation. Their efforts to diminish him only strip away distractions, leaving behind a mind too disciplined to be swayed and a soul too anchored to be broken. Over time, while his critics waste their energy gossiping and scheming, the Sigma emerges stronger, wiser, and more composed than ever. His solitude becomes a forge where his character is tempered and his mission reborn. By the time he returns, he's not seeking revenge. He's simply elevated beyond the reach of those who once sought to harm him. In a world obsessed with attention and validation, his greatest rebellion is peace. Evil people may plot to isolate him, but they only hand him the very silence he needs to evolve. In the end, the Sigma's greatest defense isn't aggression or revenge, it's understanding. By recognizing these 6 patterns, you stop taking them personally. You realize they're not reacting to you, but to the mirror your presence holds up to their emptiness. So stay calm, stay grounded. Your silence, your peace, and your purpose. Those are the things evil people can never steal. In a society that glorifies academic degrees and professional titles, the street-smart Sigma male stands as an anomaly, a man who has mastered life through instinct rather than instruction. His intelligence isn't written on a piece of paper. It's etched into the experiences that shaped him. Street smarts, unlike conventional education, rely on emotional intelligence, adaptability, and a keen sense of observation. According to psychologists, this form of intelligence, often called practical intelligence, is crucial for navigating unpredictable environments. The Sigma male doesn't need validation from institutions because his classroom is the world itself. Every success and setback becomes a lesson, every interaction a test of perception. He moves through life with the precision of someone who can read between the lines of human behavior, recognizing motives before they're spoken. This is what makes him versatile. Whether he's negotiating in a boardroom or blending in among strangers on the street, he adapts effortlessly. Sociologists often note that street-smart individuals excel at social calibration. They know when to speak, when to listen, and when silence carries the most power. For the Sigma, silence isn't a lack of words, it's strategy. He thrives on authenticity, valuing truth over image and intuition over intellect. Where others chase recognition, he seeks understanding. He knows that real intelligence is not about memorizing facts, but mastering self-awareness and reading the invisible dynamics that govern human interaction. The street-smart Sigma doesn't fight for control. He flows with it, shaping outcomes subtly and efficiently. His strength lies not in dominance, but in discernment, a quiet mastery that sets him apart from the rest. Number one, he understands people, not just theories. While others analyze human behavior through textbooks, the street-smart Sigma observes it in motion. He doesn't need a psychology degree to understand people. He learns through observation, trial, and instinct. His mind operates like a human radar, constantly scanning subtle details others overlook. Every flicker of the eyes, twitch of the mouth, or shift in tone becomes data. Micro-expressions, the fleeting emotional reactions that pass across a person's face in less than a second, are his unspoken language. These signals, rooted in the research of psychologists like Paul Ekman, can reveal truth even when someone tries to hide it. The Sigma studies them naturally, learning over time which gestures indicate honesty, deceit, attraction, or discomfort. This awareness gives him a rare psychological edge. He doesn't just hear what people say, he feels what they mean. A change in breathing might tell him someone is anxious. A delayed smile might suggest hidden resentment. These are not guesses, they're insights honed through countless real-world interactions. Street smarts at their core are applied psychology, an intuitive understanding of human behavior developed through experience rather than theory. In crowded rooms or tense negotiations, this makes the Sigma almost prophetic. He can sense tension before words ignite it, predict betrayal before it surfaces, and read sincerity before trust is broken. What makes this gift even more powerful is that it's not used for manipulation, it's used for navigation. The Sigma male knows that awareness is protection. While others get caught in emotional traps or deceptive social games, he sidesteps them with precision. He can see the invisible currents of power and intention that flow beneath every conversation. Like a chess master, he plans 3 moves ahead, but without announcing his strategy. His goal isn't to dominate, it's to remain free from influence. This ability to read the room also helps him connect authentically. Because he perceives people beyond their masks, he communicates on a deeper level. He knows when someone's pain is hidden behind laughter, or when a compliment conceals envy. His empathy doesn't make him weak, it makes him wise. In a world where many depend on algorithms and analytics to understand behavior, the street-smart Sigma relies on the oldest technology of all, human intuition. While others study human behavior in books, he lives it in real time, seeing, sensing, and understanding what most will never notice. Number 2, he adapts faster than most men can plan. The Sigma male's adaptability is his silent armor, a trait forged not from comfort, but from survival. In a world that glorifies predictability, he thrives in uncertainty. He doesn't panic when plans change or when the ground shifts beneath his feet. He adjusts, recalibrates, and continues forward. This flexibility is not weakness, it's evolution in motion. Psychologists describe this trait as psychological resilience, the ability to recover quickly from setbacks and maintain balance under pressure. Unlike others who depend on structure and validation, the Sigma male draws strength from independence. He's comfortable walking alone because solitude has taught him clarity. He doesn't need external systems to define him. He's his own compass, whether it's navigating a toxic workplace, dealing with betrayal, or surviving an economic downturn. His instinct is not to complain, but to adapt. This mindset mirrors the principle of Darwinian adaptability. Survival doesn't belong to the strongest or the smartest, but to those most responsive to change. The Sigma male understands this deeply. He's lived it. Life has thrown him curveballs, yet he's learned to bend instead of break. His ability to stay calm amid chaos isn't accidental. It's trained through experience. He's learned that control is an illusion. What truly matters is composure. Neuroscience even supports this. Studies show that flexible thinkers, those who can reframe situations quickly, activate parts of the brain linked to creative problem-solving and emotional regulation. This explains why Sigmas often seem detached when others crumble. They're not cold, they're calculating. They know every storm passes, and reacting emotionally only drains the energy needed to adapt. His calm presence in a crisis isn't arrogance, it's awareness. The Sigma male lives by a principle of inner elasticity. He knows rigidity leads to fragility, and the one who insists on controlling every outcome eventually breaks under pressure. Flexibility, on the other hand, allows him to flow around obstacles like water finding its course. It's why he can move between social circles, environments, or even careers without losing his identity. He doesn't resist life. He studies it, aligns with it, and molds his strategy accordingly. That's his secret. He adapts without compromising his core. While others fear change, he sees it as training, each unexpected event sharpening his instincts. For him, adaptability isn't a reaction. It's a way of life, a refined art that turns chaos into opportunity. Number 3, he values resourcefulness over resources. While others rely on tools, titles, or networks, the street-smart Sigma relies on himself. His strength doesn't come from what he owns, but from what he knows. In a world that constantly shifts, where jobs vanish overnight, trends fade, and power structures crumble, his real advantage is adaptability. He's learned to create solutions from nothing, to think on his feet when there's no safety net or backup plan. This isn't luck or coincidence. It's the result of years spent observing people, reading situations, and mastering the subtle art of survival. Street smarts, in psychological terms, blend what experts call practical intelligence with situational awareness. It's the ability to apply knowledge, not just acquire it, to see patterns where others see problems, and to act while others hesitate. Studies in behavioral psychology suggest that people who develop this kind of adaptability tend to perform better under pressure because their confidence comes from experience, not theory. For the Sigma male, this adaptability becomes a quiet armor. He doesn't crumble when plans fail or when life throws unexpected challenges his way. He's trained himself to stay calm, to observe before reacting, and to think independently rather than depending on authority or validation. That independence is rare in a world obsessed with group approval. The Sigma's mind functions like a compass. It may not predict the storm, but it always finds true north. He's the man who knows how to survive without depending on trends, systems, or anyone's permission to succeed. What makes this even more powerful is his psychological resilience. Neuroscientists have shown that when the brain is exposed to repeated stress in manageable doses, what's known as stress inoculation, it learns to adapt faster, becoming more efficient in decision-making and problem-solving. The Sigma male unconsciously lives by this principle. His real-life challenges become his training ground. Every setback becomes data. Every rejection becomes a recalibration. Over time, he builds what most never achieve, a deep, unshakable confidence rooted not in control, but in capability. So while others panic during economic downturns or social shifts, the Sigma stands steady. His foundation isn't external, it's internal. He knows that the world can change, but as long as he remains adaptable, aware, and resourceful, he'll always find a way forward. This is the essence of true self-reliance, not isolation, but mastery. The street-smart Sigma doesn't just survive, he evolves, quietly thriving where others fall apart. Number 4, he reads energy, not just words. A Sigma male possesses an almost supernatural ability to sense tension before conflict begins, not because he's psychic, but because he's perceptive. His awareness is not driven by paranoia or overthinking. It's a finely tuned skill developed from years of observation and solitude. You see, when a man spends long stretches of time alone, he learns to read subtle cues others ignore. The flicker of an eye, a change in tone, a forced laugh. These details speak volumes to him. Research in behavioral psychology supports this notion. People who spend more time in reflective silence tend to heighten their sensitivity to nonverbal communication. The Sigma's silence isn't emptiness, it's data collection. He listens not just to words, but to the energy behind them. In social dynamics, this gives him an edge. He can walk into a room and immediately sense whether harmony or hostility lingers in the air. In negotiations, his intuition acts like radar, detecting insincerity long before it surfaces. In friendships, it warns him when loyalty fades or motives shift. And in romance, it helps him distinguish between genuine affection and emotional manipulation. This sensitivity doesn't make him cold, it makes him selective. He doesn't chase validation or approval because his compass is internal. He knows when energy flows naturally and when it feels forced. Scientists have linked this level of awareness to a form of high emotional intelligence, specifically empathic accuracy, the ability to infer others' thoughts and feelings based on micro-expressions and tone variations. But while most people absorb emotions reactively, the Sigma processes them analytically. He steps back, observes, and decodes. This detachment protects his peace. It's why he rarely finds himself in unnecessary drama. He sees it coming long before others do. His intuition is not some mystical gift. It's a survival mechanism refined through independence. While others rely on external validation to navigate social life, he relies on energy, the unspoken truth beneath every conversation. This is why people find it difficult to lie to a Sigma. They may choose their words carefully, but their energy betrays them. And the Sigma, quietly observing, already knows. His ability to read between the lines shields him from toxicity and draws him toward sincerity. It's not magic. It's mastery of awareness, the kind that only solitude, experience, and authenticity can teach. Number 5, he operates outside the system. Street smarts teach independence in its purest form. It's not about breaking rules, it's about understanding them deeply enough to know when they no longer apply. The street smart man isn't guided by textbooks or theory. His education comes from experience, observation, and instinct. He has learned that the world doesn't wait for anyone to figure things out. So he doesn't wait for validation, approval, or permission. While others hesitate, overanalyzing every move, he adapts. He reads people like open books, sensing hidden motives and recognizing opportunities where most see obstacles. This ability isn't magic, it's emotional intelligence in motion. Psychologists describe this as situational awareness, the skill of reading environments quickly and adjusting one's behavior for optimal outcomes. Street-smart individuals thrive because they've trained their minds to think on their feet, trust their intuition, and make decisions without relying on external authority. Independence is more than just the ability to survive alone. It's the freedom to act without fear of being misunderstood or rejected. The street-smart man moves efficiently through life because he doesn't waste time seeking validation. He knows that confidence is built through self-reliance, not social approval. In a world addicted to attention, he remains immune to the noise. He doesn't post every achievement or broadcast his plans. He simply executes. This mindset creates an aura of mystery and quiet power that commands respect. Neuroscience shows that when we act with autonomy, our brains release dopamine, the same chemical linked to motivation and reward. In essence, independence fuels itself. The more self-directed a person becomes, the stronger their drive grows. He also understands that opportunities aren't given. They're engineered. While others wait for ideal conditions, the street-smart man knows perfection is a myth. He works with what's in front of him, molding chaos into strategy. Many great innovators, from Steve Jobs to Richard Branson, embodied this principle. They didn't follow paths. They forged them, often without credentials or formal approval. This level of independent thinking makes a man ungovernable, not in a rebellious sense, but in a psychological one. He cannot be easily manipulated, controlled, or confined by social trends. His mind operates beyond systems of conformity. True freedom, after all, is not about having power over others, but mastery over oneself. The street-smart man embodies that mastery, mentally, emotionally, and socially, moving through life with quiet confidence, deliberate action, and unshakable independence. Number 6, he turns hardship into strategy. Pain sharpened his vision. Rejection, failure, and struggle didn't break him. They built him. Every setback became a blueprint for self-mastery, a lesson that taught him how to navigate life's unpredictable terrain with calm precision. He learned early on that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Psychologists call this process post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where adversity leads to greater strength, perspective, and purpose. Rather than allowing pain to harden his heart, he used it to refine his awareness. When others drowned in despair, he observed, adapted, and evolved. It's why he rarely fears loss. He's already mastered the art of rebuilding from it. This mindset separates the ordinary from the exceptional. In neuroscience, pain activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the same part of the brain that processes focus and decision-making. That means, quite literally, struggle can rewire your brain for higher awareness and mental clarity if you choose to endure consciously. For him, every failure was a recalibration, every rejection a redirection. While others sought comfort, he sought understanding. He didn't escape his wounds. He studied them until they revealed wisdom. Like tempered steel, his resilience was forged through heat, pressure, and persistence. In ancient philosophy, Stoics such as Marcus Aurelius and Seneca believed that hardship is the path to virtue. Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This man lived by that principle without even naming it. When people left him, he learned self-reliance. When dreams crumbled, he learned patience. When uncertainty surrounded him, he built peace within. He discovered that loss doesn't erase your worth, it reveals it. He doesn't crave validation because he knows that mastery doesn't come from applause. It comes from endurance. Through pain, he gained emotional intelligence, self-discipline, and spiritual depth. He became the type of man who no longer reacts impulsively, but responds with wisdom. Pain taught him not only how to survive storms, but also how to find meaning in them. He now moves through life with a quiet confidence, understanding that everything that once hurt him was actually sculpting him into someone unshakable. The world calls it toughness. He calls it transformation. And when you've rebuilt yourself from the ruins, you stop fearing destruction, because you finally realize the power to rebuild was never taken from you. It was born within you. The street-smart Sigma male doesn't seek the spotlight because he understands that true power doesn't need to announce itself. His brilliance lies in his ability to move quietly, observe deeply, and think strategically before acting. This calm precision comes from a strong sense of self-awareness. He knows who he is, what he wants, and what he refuses to become. Instead of trying to control others, he masters control over his own emotions, impulses, and reactions. Psychology calls this emotional intelligence, the ability to stay grounded while the world reacts in chaos. And that's what sets him apart. While others chase validation, he studies behavior, reads situations, and adapts with grace. He's the man who plays the long game, using patience and insight as his tools. In a noisy world obsessed with attention, his silence is his strength, and his self-mastery becomes the ultimate advantage. There comes a point in the journey of the Sigma male where the mirror looks back at you and you do not recognize the man you're becoming. Not because the path has failed, but because the shape it takes is unfamiliar. You spent years developing your independence, refining your value, choosing solitude when the world asked for conformity, and walking the quiet high road when others shouted. You built the inner citadel, discipline, integrity, and choice. You earned the right to step aside, observe, and decide rather than be swept by the tide. You trusted your instincts. You let go of chasing approval. You cultivated respect rather than seeking it. You lived by your code. But there is a horizon beyond this safe harbor of values, a form that even the Sigma male may hesitate to step into, because it is still lonely, because its freedom is absolute, not just from external voices, but from internal comfort. The final form isn't about dominance, it isn't about conquest or recognition. It is about becoming the man so self-mastered that the last vestiges of dependency vanish. Dependency on external validation, on structure, on safety nets, and on the feeling of belonging to a group. It is turning your independence into an identity so complete, it shields you from the world, and paradoxically from yourself. In this state, you no longer seek. You no longer need it. You no longer belong, and you no longer resist. You are neither driven by approval nor haunted by fear. You are simple, and that simply is both what you sought and what you feared. Because when all the external expectations drop away, who are you then? What fills the silence when you are not striving, not reacting, and not defined by others? The Sigma's final form is that quiet temple of self. But a temple can also become a prison if you forget to open its doors. If you do not let life walk through you, not just around you. This form is ultimate freedom and ultimate responsibility. It is the freedom to wander into any terrain of life unshackled. But it also means there is no one to carry you, no structure to lean on, and no name to rally under. The high-value Sigma stands alone, even from himself. Today we will explore 6 turning points that lead you toward this final form and 6 checkpoints to ensure you do not become lost in your own fortress. Because being a Sigma is not just about leaving the pack. It's about not becoming lonely in the wilderness you chose. Let's walk gently into this. Number 1, mastery of emotion before mastery of circumstance. When you truly observe the Sigma journey, you realize that its earliest stages often revolve around visible transformations: the job you pursue, the status you build, the company you keep, or even the cities you choose to inhabit. These are the tangible shifts, the ones the outside world notices. But as time unfolds, a deeper evolution begins, one that cannot be seen but only felt. This is the threshold of emotional self-regulation, the moment when the Sigma male begins mastering the one thing he can actually control: his inner response to life. It's no longer about rearranging the outer world, but about transforming the inner landscape. You begin to see that peace doesn't come from fixing every storm. It comes from learning to sit calmly in the middle of one. This stage is often misunderstood because it feels paradoxical. On the surface, nothing seems to be changing. The world still throws its challenges, people still misunderstand, and uncertainty still knocks. Yet internally, the Sigma male becomes unshakable. He stops reacting impulsively and starts responding consciously. Psychology calls this emotional regulation, the ability to manage and adapt emotional reactions to stressful circumstances. Research shows that individuals with higher emotional regulation exhibit greater resilience, focus, and long-term satisfaction because they operate from a place of awareness, not reactivity. The Sigma learns this through solitude, observation, and quiet trial. He becomes less swayed by judgment, less dependent on approval, and less addicted to external validation. His fortress is not built from walls, but from composure. But this mastery carries a hidden danger. In the comfort of control, he may start believing he needs nothing and no one. The detachment that once protected him can evolve into isolation if left unchecked. The truth is, self-mastery was never meant to isolate. It was meant to liberate. The highest form of control isn't shutting out the world. It's engaging with it without losing your center. To regulate emotion is not to suppress it, but to understand it, to let it move through you like wind through open fields. When you reach this stage, your strength no longer depends on dominance or recognition. It flows quietly, like an unseen current. You realize the final form of the Sigma isn't a fortress that keeps the world out, but an open ground within, calm, steady, and unshakably free. Number 2, freedom from outcome becomes freedom from effort. As you embrace your value, a strange paradox often unfolds. The more capable you become, the less you seem to need to try. This is one of life's quiet ironies. The moment mastery is reached, effort begins to feel weightless. In psychology, this state resembles unconscious competence, a stage where skills become so ingrained that action flows effortlessly. The Sigma male, known for his introspection and independence, often reaches this state sooner than most. He has fought his inner battles, conquered the noise of validation, and found peace in solitude. Yet with that peace comes a new test, the temptation of stillness that borders on stagnation. When a man no longer strives for approval or achievement, he risks mistaking peace for apathy. This paradox mirrors ancient Stoic teachings. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The Sigma lives this truth. He no longer argues, he simply exists in alignment with his values. But when external striving ceases and inner question emerges, does he act out of purpose, Or has he grown detached from purpose itself? True freedom is not the absence of effort. It's the clarity of direction without the chains of outcome. To be capable of everything yet choose to act deliberately. That is the higher order of mastery. In neuroscience, this can be compared to the concept of flow, a state where effort and ease merge, and one becomes fully absorbed in meaningful action. The Sigma's danger lies in losing that flow when life becomes too effortless. He may begin to drift, confusing his self-sufficiency with completion. But existence demands participation. Even silence, when chosen intentionally, is an act of strength. When it becomes avoidance, it turns into decay. The final form of the Sigma male is not the man who withdraws entirely, but the one who returns to the world with calm power, acting, not reacting. He participates in life not because he must prove his worth, but because action itself is an expression of his inner order. Freedom from outcome should never mean freedom from purpose. When a man reaches the point where nothing outside him controls his peace, he must still choose to create, contribute, and move. For the universe favors motion, not stagnation. The question is no longer, can you, but will you? Not from need, but from choice. Number 3, absolute independence meets the need for connection. One of the proud badges of the Sigma path is solitude. But as a man matures along this path, he learns that solitude and isolation are not the same. Solitude is chosen. Isolation is enforced. Solitude gives clarity, reflection, and self-reliance. It's the art of standing alone without feeling lonely. But isolation builds walls so high that even light struggles to get in. The independent man knows his worth and refuses to depend on others for validation. Yet the isolated man cuts himself off from the very energy that nurtures his humanity. In psychology, studies show that while solitude can enhance creativity, emotional balance, and problem-solving skills, long-term isolation often leads to increased stress, reduced empathy, and even cognitive decline. The Sigma's challenge is to walk that fine line, to enjoy his inner peace without drowning in silence. The mature Sigma realizes that connection does not threaten independence, it strengthens it. He doesn't need crowds or meaningless validation, but he values a circle that understands his rhythm. These relationships aren't formed out of convenience or status. They're built on depth, shared values, and mutual respect. This is what psychologists call selective social engagement, a trait found among emotionally intelligent and self-aware individuals. It's the ability to maintain autonomy while still nurturing genuine bonds. Ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius also spoke of this balance, being self-contained but still part of the larger human family. Even wolves, the archetype of Sigma energy, don't live entirely alone. They hunt solo but belong to a pack that recognizes their strength. The danger lies in mistaking detachment for strength. When independence becomes your only identity, you risk amputating the emotional limbs that help you grow. You might stop reaching out, stop trusting, and stop letting others in. Not because you can't, but because you've convinced yourself that needing anyone is weakness. The truth is, choosing the right few people to walk beside you doesn't diminish your Sigma nature, it refines it. It teaches you discernment, patience, and humility. So the next checkpoint for every Sigma male is to ask himself, do I choose my solitude out of wisdom or fear? Are my few companions chosen with intention, or have I simply decided I don't need anyone? The mature Sigma knows that true independence is not the absence of connection, it's the mastery of it. Number 4, the mask comes off, yet the mystery remains. In the early stages of their journey, many Sigma men adopt what could be called the mask of indifference. It's that calculated calm, the silent stare, and the lone wolf composure that keeps the world guessing. This mask serves a purpose. It protects them while they're still learning the art of self-control, discipline, and emotional detachment. But as a man evolves, he begins to realize that real strength doesn't come from appearing untouchable. It comes from being secure enough not to need the mask at all. In his final form, the Sigma no longer performs coolness, he simply is. His calm no longer feels forced. It's the natural byproduct of understanding himself. Authenticity replaces strategy. He becomes comfortable in his own skin, neither seeking validation nor fearing exposure. Yet paradoxically, this authenticity doesn't erase his mystery. It deepens it. Because true mystery isn't about being closed off or evasive, it's about being intentional. A mature Sigma knows when to reveal himself and when to remain silent. He doesn't share everything because he understands that not every space deserves access to his truth. This selectiveness gives him an aura that draws others in without him trying. People sense depth, but they can't quite define it, and that's what keeps them intrigued. Psychologically, this transformation mirrors what experts call self-actualization, the highest level in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's when a man becomes fully himself, free from the compulsion to prove, perform, or please. Studies in personality psychology also show that individuals who achieve this balance, authentic yet self-contained, tend to inspire both trust and respect. They radiate quiet authority because their confidence isn't reactive. It's grounded. The challenge, however, lies in mastering the fine line between authenticity and invisibility. Many men mistake transparency for openness, oversharing their lives in hopes of being real. But being seen is not the same as being known. True presence doesn't come from constant visibility. It comes from impact. A mysterious Sigma leaves an impression not because he hides, but because every word and every gesture carries intention. He doesn't waste energy proving his worth, he embodies it. Ultimately, the Sigma's final evolution is about presence without performance. He no longer needs to retreat into solitude to feel powerful. He can walk among others, speak his truth calmly, and still maintain that magnetic air of quiet dominance. That's the paradox of the mature Sigma male. Authentic, grounded, yet forever compelling. Number 5. Tools become toys. Growth becomes service. In the early rise of any man's journey, especially that of a Sigma, there's a natural obsession with tools. Books, systems, and morning routines become sacred rituals. You wake up early, stack habits, and optimize every corner of your life. You measure progress in methods, not meaning. This phase is essential, almost like the training arc of a warrior learning his weapons. The books sharpen your intellect, the routines build your discipline, and the systems give structure to your chaos. But eventually, if you stay long enough on the path, something shifts. You begin to see that the tools were never the destination. They were preparation. They taught you focus, but they are not your identity. In the final form, the Sigma male steps beyond his systems. He understands that mastery isn't found in collecting techniques. It's in transcending them. At this stage, you realize that even the most efficient system can become a cage. When every part of your day revolves around optimizing yourself, you risk losing touch with why you started in the first place. True mastery is when you can let go of the tools and still perform with grace. The martial artist doesn't think about the stance, the writer doesn't think about grammar. Their tools have dissolved into instinct. Science supports this transformation. Neuroscience calls it automaticity, a state where practiced behaviors become effortless. It's the brain's way of freeing up cognitive energy for deeper work, creativity, and empathy. But there's a trap here. Many men fall in love with the mechanics of progress. They cling to the methods that once saved them, turning discipline into doctrine. They become so attached to their productivity systems that they forget to live. The very habits meant to serve them begin to rule them. The question then becomes, are you wielding your tools, or are your tools wielding you? The high-value Sigma eventually understands that wisdom lies not in constant optimization, but in purposeful deployment. The tools are only as powerful as the hands that guide them. So when you find yourself counting routines instead of results, pause and remember. The goal was never to build a perfect system. It was to build a stronger soul, one capable of serving something greater than itself. That's when the Sigma stops performing mastery and starts embodying it. Number 6, the forest and the fire, walking through life without fear. Ultimately, the Sigma's final form is walking through life as both the forest and the fire. The forest that stands strong, rooted and calm, letting storms pass through.